Hi, it's Sandy Parker, and welcome to Crafting for Almost Everyone. Today we're going to be finishing up our cards for Cubs, the birthday edition. I mainly use scraps, so this is basically how to use your scraps. I hope you'll stay tuned. Well, I'll show you all the cards I made in just a second, but first I wanted to show you what to do with those at the end when you've just got a lot of scraps, small scraps left over. And this is some of the pile. I have a few more, but those are the ones that I have left. And I didn't want to go without trying at least one set of scrappy cards. So I'll show you the bulk of the cards in a second, but I want to make one scrap card first. This is one of those card bases that I got from Michaels that I absolutely hated. It's textured. It has this weird pattern of, it's supposed to be, I don't know, mountains maybe, but it's not consistent. The inking on all of them was a little bit weird, and I just wasn't fond of it. I added some tear tape to the front of this all across it. I think you can see that. If you can't, hopefully you can. I wanted to just cover it so that I could make this easily. I cut these strips to 4 1/4 inches high by 1 1/4 inches wide. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to line it up with the edge of the card and making sure I cover the edge of the card. Lay it down. Then my second piece. Again, I cut them all to the same size, so it's not a question of, you know, are they the right size or will they work? They will work because I cut them all the same size, theoretically. You know me. And then I'll show you after I'm done what you do if you accidentally cut them wrong or you have an issue with the way you laid them on your card. You know, I always want to show you how to fix any kind of card boo-boos you have, because you know I've made them. Now, I thought these would work size-wise, but I can tell I'm already going to have an issue. See, I said I didn't even figure if the width of these was going to be accurate for you know, would they all be the right width on this card. I didn't even do that because I just wanted to use these scraps. Oops, that one's awry. I have to slide it over a little bit. So what I'm going to do to fix that little problem, see if it's still wrong. Of course it would be. Why wouldn't it be? Because, you know, the very last strip has to be a mess. I'm going to put more glue on here because by now my tear tape is giving up the ghost. Is that a real word? What is that term? That's weird. Anyway, basically what I was trying to say is my tear tape was no longer sticky. Let me get that one laid down. Okay, that's the front of the card. It looks very plain, but keep in mind this side is it's going to be wider than this one when I cut it off. So I'm going to get my guillotine trimmer. The first thing I'm going to do is cut off the back of this one that is way too wide. So now you know how it looks. Well, I could leave it like that, or if, let's be honest, the person that gets this card is not going to know what an A2 size card is. If you don't know what an A2 size card is, it is 5 1/2 inches wide by 4 1/4 inches tall, the way I've done it. It also can be in the up position, the opposite of those measurements. They're not going to know that. What they're going to see is that this green side is much wider than that green side. So I'm just going to take my little trimmer. I'm going to guesstimate, make it a little bit wider. They won't know that difference either. And we're just going to whack that off, thereby making it look like it's more even. Now, I thought my background color was white, but it's more of a beige color. Does that bother me? Not really, but I'm going to probably start fretting about it in a minute. I want to make this a little bit my sentiment a little bit higher. I don't think they want you to have cards that have foam tape and things like that on them, but I didn't read the notes on it. So I'm just making, I have, these are 2-inch square pieces of black cardstock. All I'm going to do is I'm going to layer them on top of each other. Doesn't matter if they're not exactly, if one of them is a little smaller than the other one. No one is going to notice that. That's what this one is. A little bit smaller. Shh, don't tell anybody. That's a secret one. That'll be near the bottom of the stack. I'm going to find an off-white scrap because that's bugging me. I told you it would. It would bug me. These things happen. I can't be responsible for the things that bug me. Maybe I can. Maybe I could, but I'm not. I have a little box that I keep of scraps of white and off-white cardstock. And I have another box like this, sandy. Ha! Sandy toes. Anyway, I keep just the scraps in here that are off-white and white. And it's my go-to, that one's big enough. It's my go-to box for those kinds of scraps. My other box of scraps, you don't want to see. It's a lot crazier. Even though I have to say, I worked so hard on using as much of my old paper and my scraps on this project as I could. I was really committed to getting rid of things that were outdated, that I wouldn't use normally, and try to find nice, creative ways to use them. I can't say that that they're as pretty as a picture, but they're, wait, that's not what, I'm trying to think what size. I think it's 1 3/4. I almost made it the wrong size. I'm going to make this 1 3/4 inch square because my black bases are 2 inches square. So that's that. Now, in a lot of my cards, I did as many unusual things as I could with ribbons and trying to make it look, make each one special and different. I wanted them to each look a little bit different than the others. You'll see that when I get to them. But basically, what I did with the rest of my cards is I cut my scraps down to 2 inches wide. Can't do this and talk at the same time. 2 inches wide, no, 2 inches tall by 5 1/4 inches wide. I cut all my scraps to that. Look how good I did that. Are you clapping for me? I don't hear you clapping. Anyway, so I cut my scraps to that, and I had a huge pile of those. That was great. They looked good, but after a while, I started getting bored with the way I laid things out. So then I started revamping my thinking and went with a whole new look. So I'll show you all of those in a second, but I wanted to tell you that that's how I did it. I cut my scraps to 2 inches high and 5 1/4 inches wide. Now, the reason I'm telling you that part of the story is that I did that en masse at the very beginning. I wanted to make sure that I used as many of these nasty old Michaels textured card bases as I could, and I wanted to use all these scraps, as I said. But I didn't want people to think I was basically giving them something ugly. I wanted to turn them into something pretty. So what I did was I did all of my bases. Now see how that's textured, or not textured, layered? And I can put that anywhere on there. I think I'm going to put it up in the corner like that. Make it a little bit different and almost manly, because you know I got very few manly cards made. I've been using this Martha Stewart glue that I bought at Tuesday Morning. And it's a huge bottle, and it's really worked for me. It made me very, very happy. Oh, I really like to use some of these pink ones on that, but Oh, you really shouldn't, because, you know, I was trying to go for a manly card for a change. I'll probably change my mind in a minute, as you know. The only thing I don't like about this glue is it has the smallest tip closure, and it's clear plastic, and I lose it all the time, which is what I was looking at right now, is where did I put it? Well, so we're going to go with the idea that we're going to have to find out later. All right. Then, one other thing I wanted to tell you was, you don't need any kind of big, great tools to hold your cards together when you're en masse like this. I use clothespins, and I use my old peg stamps. I did this a long time ago in a video, and I decorated them. I just stamped them with my peg stamps, because peg stamps are very small. They're out of business now, which is so sad, because the owners were such beautiful people, but I think they just took the business as far as they wanted to go with it. It was a family business that they'd bought from the parents, and they did what they could with it and have now retired. But I do love their little stamps for things like that. All right, there is the card, and I've showed you how I used my final scraps. So let me get some of the cards I made. This was one of the ones that when I made it, let me tell you another thing about these bases. They curled like anything, drove me crazy trying to glue anything to them. And so I had to add a lot of paper, or yeah, clothes clips. All right, let me tell you about this one. 2 inches high by 5 1/4 inches wide. 2 inches high by 5 1/4 inches wide. Then this was a strip from another paper pad that I just cut it out of, and you'll see when I get to one that uses that paper, I'm sure I have some in here, you'll see how that wasn't really anything at all. It was just a little portion of the paper, but it matched. So I cut that out and put it up on a little foam strip. Oh, first of all, let me tell you this too. These card bases, the colors of them didn't really match the color of what I was doing. So what I would do is I would take an ink pad and I inked around all of them. I did that at the very beginning. I took my papers and I said, okay, what colors should I do the outlines of these in to make them work? And so this one I did in orange, but I probably could have done it in a lot of other colors. Okay. Then there's this one. Again, 2 inches by 5 1/4, 2 inches by 5 1/4. And then I laid a black strip in the middle. This card base was black. And then I just used this It's Your Happy Day and put a little black piece of cardstock in the middle to separate the two pages. Then, well, let me go into some of these. Then I got to the point where I was tired of the 2 inches by 2 inches. So this is still 2 inches and this is still 2 inches, but then I slapped another piece of a different card stock from the same bee inspired set, and these came from that same paper pad. I know I could tell you the name of that paper pad, but I also know they don't sell it anymore. The thing that was awesome about that paper is that these toppers came with them, so it made it so nice. So here's another one. This one I did use the 2 inches by 5 1/4, 2 inches by 5 1/4. This one I dyed purple with my oxide inks, and I don't recommend that for this because when I put the wet glue on it, it smeared it, and I'm a little unhappy about that. One more from the Bee collection. These were the gold card bases I got from Michaels, and they also warped. But this is, again, the 2 inches, 2 inches, and then I just put ribbon in the middle over a piece of glitter cardstock. This is purple ribbon and this is white glitter cardstock, and I just laid it over it and then glued the whole thing down. Then again, 2 inches, 2 inches, and then just a piece of paper in between. And then I thought, well, I'll just put this one on. I'm not in love with this card, but I had these stickers I thought might look cute in the orange section, but in retrospect, maybe not. Then, this one I like. This came with the set of paper I had, and this is some old Stampin' Up! Ribbon that I love. I have it in a bunch of colors, and I thought it really turned out pretty and feminine. I didn't put Happy Birthday on it. I just left it with Hello Gorgeous. This one, I was down to the end, and I had a lot of black and white scraps left. So I cut them in diagonals, and I have a lot of videos showing you how to make this kind of card. I just cut them in diagonals, and I just laid them, butted them up against each other all around the card, centering them in a middle point, and then I ran one piece of paper across the center and put the Happy Birthday. It was very easy to do, and it used up a lot of scraps, made me happy. This one also was one of the 2" by 2", and then I had this scrap that was from a die cut, and I thought this is kind of pretty, so I just put it in there, and then I stuck a Happy Birthday from this old Stampin' Up! Did they ever put the names on these? I don't think they do. It's an old Stampin' Up! Punch. So there you go. This one, I was tired, and I started getting a little bit crazy, I think. So I layered, this piece is a 5 1/4" by 4" tall piece. I put that on my card base, and then I just cut another piece on a diagonal and just laid it on the side, and then I just cut a white piece. Actually, it's the back of one of these. I just cut it on a diagonal and stamped Happy Birthday on it and stuck a couple doodads on it and called it good. Okay, here's what I was telling you about these card bases. They warped. And seriously, you'd never think anything would warp this much, but they really warped. So I had to be very gentle with them when you're unwarping them. Otherwise, the paper, as you'll see right here, will just come right off. How lucky. This gold cardstock in particular does not like to play. It doesn't like glue. It doesn't like it. So I just need to put some tear tape underneath it and make sure it stays on, because I don't want it to become a project for somebody because I can't get the cardstock to hold the paper. Then here's another one of the B cards, and this one I just layered a 3rd piece in the center. So there's 3 different pieces of cardstock. Here's more of that crazy pattern stuff I was telling you about, and again I used a scrap of a die cut. And then this one is one where I just used 2 kinds of, I used a 4" tall by 5 1/4" wide piece of cardstock, and then I found this one that I thought, oh, that kind of matches it, and I stuck it on, and then I just had added the Happy Birthday with the little sequins. These are the ones I started doing, but I didn't have any sentiments on them, so I'm running out of time to get this into the company. So these I'm going to just turn into cards for myself, because I think I'm over 10 there. I don't know how many I have there. I just committed to 10 more of these. So I used that 2" by 5 1/4" concept on these. And then on this one, I just laid black cardstock with a thinner piece of this other cardstock. And did the same with this. This is 3 pieces of cardstock. They're all just different patterns. This one is just a 2" piece layered onto a thicker piece, a wider piece, because if you do the 2" and 2", you won't overlap like this does. It overlaps a little bit. More of that paper I was telling you about. Again, with this one. This one is just got some gold glitter, or it's gold glitter cardstock, card base with gold mirrored cardstock in the middle. This one's just a little bit on the crazy side. This one is on the subdued side. Oh, here's the ones. I knew I had to have these somewhere because I do have one more of those really pretty sentiments that I wanted to put on those that they sent with that kit. So that is what I did and how I did it for the rest of my cards for Cubs. So this will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 more. So that means I will send them a total of 35 cards. So I'm happy with that. I hope if you played with me this year that you enjoyed yourself, and if you didn't and next year you want to play along, I'll definitely be doing it in March of next year again. And I hope if you are interested that you'll play along with me, because this is such a worthwhile cause. These kids in foster care really need to have encouraging and nice birthday cards, and having something homemade like this, I think, makes a big difference in people's lives. So I hope you enjoyed this, that you give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Please tell your friends about me on social media, because you know I love that. And thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.